Welcome to the ShodCast Season 3, Week 2. I've got Matt McKenney, Mike Height. Boys, it was an interesting Week 1. Matt, let's start with you. Any takeaways that stand out?
Yeah, isn't this fun? I just love this. Just a great
Mike, you having a good time too?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of bad football being played last weekend, but I mean, it was just great to just post up on the couch and not leave until 11:30 at night.
Well, we're here to talk about all of it. First, Pokemon. Here were your hints from last week. 2011, this running back scored 342 points in the show, but only punched in 3 rushing touchdowns. He led Shanks' scooting squad to the championship, though. Those are your hints. Any guesses?
I saw his photo when we were doing the pre-show, so I'm not gonna say.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's a good one too. I mean, now that I know who it is, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Oh yes, sir.
Oh, is it
Mike? Any guesses?
Is it Priest Holmes? No.
Oh, that's a good guess. Good guess.
I'll give you a hint. Oh, there we go.
It's actually Ray Rice.
Oh.
Ray Rice punched in 3 touchdowns.
Hey, diddle Ray Rice with the middle.
Yeah,
it's weird that he only had 3 rushing touchdowns.
He had a lot of yards that year, though. I think that's what got him.
Good one.
Got him points.
He probably
heading
had a
into
bunch
the
of
injury
report
report
too.
Heading into the injury report here, we got a lot to talk about, Matt. Why don't you start off with Dak Prescott?
Yeah, Dak Prescott injured his throwing hand towards the end of the game against the Buccaneers on it was Sunday night, right?
Sunday night.
And
Yep.
From what I understand, what I'm reading is that he had a fracture in his hand, which I'm assuming is probably an avulsion fracture, which means that basically a piece of bone gets ripped off by the tendon that attaches to the muscle. So what that does is it makes it very difficult for you to move your hand, and in this instance his thumb, because of the fact that there's no muscle that's connected to the bone. So what they probably had to do is reattach that tendon and bone fragment that had been pulled off and just wait for that to heal, essentially. Typically fractures take about 6 to 8 weeks to heal, but they seem optimistic they're going to get him back in 4 weeks. They didn't put him on IR. So I think that's a very, very optimistic timetable, but we have seen NFL players come back a lot faster. Obviously the modalities that they have for healing injuries is top notch, and not what the average Joe gets. So it's possible that we may see him sooner than later.
Cooper Rush, the one subbing in right now. Next set of injuries here, we have 2 of them, Keenan Allen and Chris Godwin. What's going on with them, Matt?
Yeah, a couple hamstrings injuries. Allen has had hamstrings injuries in the past, I think, if I remember correctly. So this is kind of like a recurrent thing for him. From what I understand, the Godwin injury is on the same leg where the ACL was torn. So, a lot of this may just come from deconditioning following his surgery, and just the fact that he's, probably had some, muscular weakness, tightness, imbalance that's persisted following his operation. It's very hard to recover from that. This is why it's kind of risky to have guys who are coming off ACL injuries in their first year, because there's just so much can go wrong, not even just with the knee itself, but also the opposite knee, plus, any of the musculature surrounding that knee that was repaired. So, he might be out for a few weeks. And I think, probably the Keenan Allen one is going to be a week-to-week situation as well.
Mikey, I don't think you have any of these guys in the game. So, any suggestions for the other teams out there with one of these 3 guys?
No, not really. I would just say
good luck.
Yeah, good luck. I think it's pretty much. I mean, I do think that Godwin would probably rush himself back. He looked. I mean, he didn't seem like he was, moving slowly out there. He seemed like he's moving pretty well, but I talking to Matt over the years, talking about injuries, like it seems like these are pretty prevalent because you're overcompensating on the different part of your body to protect whatever injury you're coming off of, and it seems like that may be part of what happened here. So who knows?
Interesting. Heading to injury number 3, we have Najee Harris there on the ground. What happened to him, Matt?
Well, he's got this lingering Lisfranc injury that has been bothering him for a while, and from what I understand, he re-injured that same foot, and I think it was actually kind of an aggravation of his Lisfranc, which is super concerning. Najee is saying that he's going to be practicing this week and playing this weekend, which is obviously a lofty goal. But I don't know. This could be the season of the injury for Najee if he can't shake this, because it can be a lingering problem.
Ouch. Last set of injuries here. We have 2 of them. T. Higgins and Mac Jones. Mac has
these will be quick.
Higgins. Go ahead.
Yeah, these are going to be quick. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. T. Higgins has a concussion, so he's in the protocol basically as soon as he can work out and tolerate working and getting his heart rate up to high levels without having a headache. He'll be back in play. I wouldn't expect this to be more than a week. Mac Jones, back injury, apparently X-ray is negative. Probably more of a muscular injury or a contusion. That's something he's going to be able to play through, so I expect him to be suiting up this weekend.
There you have it, the injury report with Matthew McKenney, our ShodCast injury expert. Heading into the weekly recap. This is our first recap of the season. First game, Mike, Van Buren boys beating Muppet Nation. What happened here?
VBB, AJ Brown was absolutely electric in this game. He had 10 catches, 155 yards, just absolutely dominant. He was a favorite target of Jalen Hurts in that game. And then Travis Kelce, obviously doing Kelce things, 8 catches, 121 yards, touchdown. They combined for over 50 points, just the 2 of those guys. And, Muppet Nation came up a little short, but did get a good game out of Justin Herbert. 279 yards and 3 touchdowns in that game.
Game 2, Flutie Flakes and Rafi Bombs. Mike, you want this one?
Sure. No surprise here. We all picked Rafi Bombs in this matchup. I think pretty much until Brian gets a starting second quarterback, we're not really going to be picking him very often. Brissett really didn't do much. He got 1.5 points out of Dawson Knox. Javonte did look good, but just really was not enough to beat a pretty good performance by Rafi Bombs. I think he's probably happy to see that Michael Thomas
Rafi looking to climb that
against the Falcons. So
Rafi's looking to climb that power ranking climb good right now. It's happening for the Rafi Bombs. Week 3, Lafferty and the Charbacues. A tough loss, Mike.
It was. I do feel better looking at my bench that there wasn't anybody that could have saved me here. Hats off to Steve. The boys showed up. I disappointed in myself that I got a 40-point performance out of Justin Jefferson. It still wasn't enough to get me a W there. But he did have Jamar Chase put up almost 30. So it's not like Steve was. It was kind of like a well-rounded effort. He had a couple blow-up performances. Steve just kind of
he's sneaky.
He got performances from just about everybody, but he left Carson Wentz, who threw 5 touchdowns on his bench. So we'll see if he remedies that this week.
Recap number 4. My team is fine, coming up with their first win in the season over Fat Jim's, giving them a loss. Matt.
This is another one that we all got correct in our predictions. The Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs tandem is going to be tough to play against all year. Combining for well over 60 points there. So that's impressive. Didn't really need a whole lot more, but Antonio Gibson, kind of sliding into that running back 1 role in Washington. is a nice little boost for him as well. On the other side, Cooper Kupp obviously had an outstanding game for the Rams in a loss. Really, kind of the only one offensive bright spot. I guess you could say Darrell Henderson was somewhat effective in that game, but the Rams were completely outplayed, and Neil was able to squeeze some good points out of Kupp in a loss.
Next matchup, the Rusty Truckers against Make the Show Great Again. Matt, you come up with the win here. First win of the season. How's it feel?
Feels great. Yeah, I mean, I think we got a good solid game out of Saquon, which is really encouraging for me. I think the usage is there. He's getting targeted, he's getting carries, and I think we got a win in a game where McCaffrey had kind of a floor game. So I see a lot of potential here going upwards for this team, and I'm happy to see the start that we had in terms of Make the Show Great Again. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes had a massive game. The used sedan went for 34.9 points, 360 yards, 5 touchdowns, pretty solid. So I don't know if he's quite so used.
I stand by it.
Yeah.
the used sedan throwing up 35 points. Jay Walsh.
I also I said
nice
he was a very nice
Jay Walsh football team putting up the lowest score of the week against New World Order. Matt, Mike, let's go with you on this one.
Okay. Yeah, not the start that Jay Walsh was looking for here on the year. Almost getting doubled up in points by Brandon, and he really didn't have that great of a week. He got good weeks out of Lamar, Taylor, and Judy, but other than that, not really anybody else showed up. So, I'm very concerned about Jay Walsh going forward. You'll see in my rankings that he dropped pretty far down the board, and I'm officially sticking my fork in Jay Walsh for the season. I think it's over already.
Wow.
Last
week 1, he's done.
After week 1, he's done. The last game of the week, probably maybe one of the closer games, the closest game, Feel the Rush. Edging out Trek 131 to 124. Mike, break this one down for us too. Devontae Adams had a big game.
Yeah, I mean, it was, we all kind of agreed that it's going to be a close game. And, Feel the Rush didn't really get the start they were looking for. Matt Stafford put up less than 8 points on Thursday Night Football. But he got huge games out of DeAndre Swift. He looked incredible in that game against the Vikings. He was just breaking off 10-yard rushes almost every time he touched the ball. Devontae, I think he had 17 targets in that game or something ridiculous like that. They were trailing that entire game, so they were throwing a lot. Gabe Davis obviously had a very good game also on Thursday Night Football. They really didn't need to keep putting on points because they were up so big, late in the third quarter. So all these board bets with Gabe Davis, I'm on the positive side of just about all of them. I'm expecting huge things out of him this year. I'm on Ron St. Brown also had a very good game as well. So, Trek didn't have a bad game either.
Trek could probably beat most teams.
Started off very slow. I think he had less than 80 yards. I mean, I think Jameis put up, less than 80 yards in the first half and really stepped it up in the second. And then Patterson had a very good game after Williams got hurt. He kind of was really their only option in the backfield. And then Hunt had 2 touchdowns. Kyler, that game was
awful from the beginning.
They should have pulled that game from national television as soon as they could have. It turned just to an absolute dump off fest. They were just dumping it off to Connor, and then once he had enough, they just brought in Edmonds and did the exact same, or not Edmonds, but Benjamin did the exact same thing. So
let's see how this changes the power ranking, shall we? We've got 14 teams. Number 14, Mike, who is it?
Is it Jamie?
It's not Jamie. It's the Flakes. Brian. Brian's not changing position. Staying in the same spot. 14.
Shocker. Brian was not my number 14 team. There's a little thing down at the bottom, so I can't see who it was. But we are obviously very concerned about the Flutie Flakes. I guess he and Jamie are essentially in the same situation since they really only have one quarterback currently.
Well, that leads us to number 13. Talk about James.
I just Jamie.
I mean, what is there to say? I mean, Dak goes down, and all of a sudden, you have kind of weak team that turns into a really, really bad team. So it's going to be an uphill climb for him to make noise here this year after that injury. Every team's just an injury away, and it seems like Jay Walsh has kind of sustained that injury, unfortunately.
Number 12, slipping down from number 9, Muppet Nation, Mike. You concerned for my team?
Yeah, the Nation coming off a tough loss.
Concerned for my team?
Huh?
Do you have any concern for my team as much as the Flakes?
Yeah, I'm concerned. I'm not as concerned as the Flakes with the Nation, but I'm definitely concerned. Coming off a tough loss, the season's not over for them. Happy to let you know that week one, your season's not over, Sean. You need to turn around soon.
Number 11, make the show great again. Probably the biggest move of the week one findings here. They moved down, I think, from 4 to number 11. Big drop.
Yeah,
number 10.
Not a good week for them. We have Lafferty at 10. Not a good week one for Lafferty. Justin Jefferson obviously was spectacular, but aside from him, there wasn't a lot going on. So he's gonna have to get some support staff to start putting up some points. Otherwise, drop's gonna continue, unfortunately.
Number 9, Mike.
Yeah, another team that lost last week. I mean, they're okay. I mean, they need some help. One of these guys that Neil took late in the auction is going to need to step up and become a starter for him.
Number 8, we see Matt. You're here at number 8.
Yeah, good to see I'm not 13th anymore like I was last week. I think win will solve most of the problems, so hopefully we can keep that train going.
Reaching our top 7, the El Barbill Charbacues edging out the Truckers. Mike, let's go with you on this. You played against them.
No, the Laffertys. Steve. I mean, they had a good game. That's really all there is to it. It was. He has that splash play ability with Chase, and then just got solid performances behind it, and that's enough to get you into the mid 120s, which is generally what you need to win in this league.
Matt?
Trek, yeah, I still feel good about Trek. I think they're a solid team. I know they dropped a couple spots here in our Shod Power rankings, but still I think a threat, and still definitely a playoff team.
Yeah, I mean you're going to drop when you lose, but they put up good points. Number 5, the NWO dropping from number 1 to number 5. Really expected to see a lot more out of NWO this past week, and just didn't see it. Only 115, I think, but it's still early. It's still early. They're still a top 5 team. That's playoffs. Number 4, Mike, tell us who's there.
That's the Rafi Bombs. Coming off of a win. Just as always, Simpson
Smart guy.
drafts a good team. And I expect it to continue.
Matt, number 3.
Yeah, I feel the rush again. We talked about his receivers coming through. Monrod, Devonta. He's a solid team, and he's here to stay. I think he's going to be a playoff team. Just where he finishes is the question.
Number 2, I'll go with this one. VBB taking out Muppet Nation, really showing some things. That's why they got the number 2 rating. A lot of their players came through this week. That's why Nation's number 12 and VBB is number 2. And finally, the number 1 team. Mike, who do you think it's going to be?
Well, I assume it's Vince, and that is correct. My preseason pick, number 1. Glad to see you guys have all joined me on the bandwagon. Speaking of wagons, the dog is a wagon. So they are a force to be reckoned with the rest of the season, and I wish the best of luck to anyone that has to play them.
Matchups for this week. Well, first of all, we got to look at our numbers here. In the red, Mike, you picked 6 correct matchups last week. Only 1 incorrect. Great job. Excellent.
Which one was the one you missed, Mike?
my own.
Excellent vision in that.
Would have been a perfect week.
Matt, you're at 4-3, and I'm 3-4. So it's like you and I are kind of duking it out a little bit to try to play catch up to Mike here. And then the locks of the week, I'm the only one that couldn't come up with a lock. Gotta change that up this week. Looking at matchup number 1, Trek against the Nation. Mike, you're the only one on Team Trek this week. Why is it?
I am concerned about Derrick Henry being able to. I mean, the Bills' defense looked really good last week. Henderson had an okay game, but I just feel like that Tennessee is going to be behind and throwing a lot, and I don't think Henry's going to be a big.
Hilliard was playing quite a bit. Put up some good points last week.
Yeah, well, he didn't play a ton, but he did have the 2 touchdowns. And I guess obviously Lamb is a little concerning on Trek, but I just see a lot of matchups, and I just see some games that are going to be behind and throwing a lot. So I think it's going to work.
Matchup number 2, you have the Flakes and Lafferty. Everyone's on the Lafferty train here. Matt, tell us why.
Well, this one's kind of it's again more about the team that Mike's playing, not so much Mike's team. I mean, we've got the Flutie Flakes, who is really struggling to put together a full roster of quarterbacks. Obviously, he's got Jacoby Brissett that's going to be playing every single week, and he does have a soft matchup against the Jets, but he's got no backup quarterback to throw in there. And his supporting cast isn't too bad. I mean, he's going to be bringing in Mixon, Evans, DJ Moore, Javonte Williams did have a big game last night. Caught a lot of passes, out-targeted everybody. So, there is a pathway to the Flutie Flakes winning, but I just think he's overpowered, and Lafferty's got to get off the schneid here, and I think he will. So, yeah, I think it's 0-2 for Flutie Flakes, unfortunately.
And Mike, you got this as your lock of the week. Same reasons?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just pretty much, and just Jefferson was really the only one that showed up last week. I expect bounce backs of the rest of my team. Ayuk, I think, is going to have a bounce back game here. They were playing an absolute slop in Chicago last week, so I think better weather would be better for them.
Matchup number 3, make the show great again against Feel the Rush. I'm the only one on make the show great again. I don't think their ranking is deserved. After 1 week of play, obviously still a lot of questions out there. He still has 2 solid quarterbacks. I know Rodgers didn't have a great week last week, but it's just a ticking time bomb. What did Rodgers say? What was it, about 5-6 years ago? Relax. Make the show great again. We'll be in the playoffs. So
but he doesn't
make the show great again.
Rodgers has no one to throw the ball to.
Hey, well, it's still Aaron Rodgers, still a Hall of Fame quarterback. I like that. I still like his team. I like Rodgers over Flacco. I like Rodgers over Stafford. So, I'm gonna make the show great again. I'll be the contrarian here.
I actually like Rodgers too. I think it's I think that's probably going to get better for him. I don't think it's going to be as bad as it was last game. So, I think that goes up.
Matchup number 4. We're all on the dog here. Despite him playing against Rafi Bombs, who's also very good. Matt, other than Josh Allen, what does the dog have going for him?
Yeah, well, other than Allen and Diggs, you mean? Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, we talked earlier. I think it's kind of I guess a little bit underrated how big of a situation that he kind of found himself in regards to Antonio Gibson. I mean, this is a guy who we had talked about basically, being the third running back in this offense. Now all of a sudden he's the guy and, putting up good fantasy numbers again. So, that's a huge swing from where he was for a flex spot. And when you're trying to earn wins against better teams in this league, that makes a big difference, I think. So he's a big one. And then, Rashad Bateman had a great week 1. And if that's any indication of what's going to happen this season, I think, again, the supporting cast for the studs that he's got out there, if they keep putting up big numbers, I mean, who's beating this team?
I have no clue. That's going to be a tough team to beat all season if they stay healthy. Matchup number 5, Charbacues and Truckers. I'm the only one on the Charbacues. Mike, tell me why you're taking the Truckers, though.
I just think that his two, well, I guess Saquon kind of showed the reason why Matt spent as much money as he did on him. I'm expecting McCaffrey to have a much bigger game this week against the Giants. They gave up those 2 touchdowns to Hilliard last week. Those passes are, in theory, going to be going to Hilliard or to McCaffrey. Davis Mills looked good last week. I mean, it's kind of crazy that of the second-year quarterbacks, it seems like he's been the one that's been playing the best over the last 2 years. And Josh Palmer's moving into a starting position here, most likely Thursday night. It looks like Keenan Allen's going to be out with the hamstrings, so he's going to be in on all wide receiver or 2 wide receiver sets. So being Justin Herbert's number 2 option is never a bad thing. I mean, possibly number 1. Like Mike Williams only got like 3 targets last week, so we'll see what's going on there.
And Steve must have heard you. He plugged in Carson Wentz. So there he is. There he is at the top of the roster. Matchup number 6, Fat Jims and Jay Walsh football team. Matt, what do you think of this matchup? It's your lock of the week.
Yeah, it certainly is. I see a big bounce back week for the Jims. Kind of underwhelmed a little bit. Obviously Thielen, we had concerns about him going into the year with, being a little bit on the elderly side. I don't know if that's going to bump up too much, but I do expect that he's going to find a replacement for Godwin. Julio Jones looked really good, on Sunday Night Football, and I expect that if he's going to be looking for a replacement for Godwin, that's probably the spot he's going to look. And then I think Darrell Henderson, has established himself as the number 1 back in with the Rams, and I think that he's kind of a good plug and play in this situation. So I think with Chubb, I think getting a bump up this week as opposed to what he did last week. I think he gets in the end zone maybe twice even. I see the Jims taking care of this one.
Last matchup of the week, the New World Order against the Van Buren boys. Mike, you're taking Van Buren boys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brand's got to show me something. I know you guys thought he was the number 1 team. I think the Jonathan Taylor trade maybe was swaying your opinion maybe a little bit, but I just think Van Buren boys has a superior team. Mooney did absolutely nothing last week. That's one of our board bets. I'm expecting him to bounce back this week. Against Green Bay, it's going to be a very slow game with not a lot of passes, but I do expect him to get into the double-digit fantasy points. Kirk had a pretty good game last week. Russ, I think he's going to bounce back this week against Houston. I just still absolutely baffled by the ending of that game last night. So I'm expecting the Van Buren boys to win and win somewhat easily against NWO.
And just a real quick note there on NWO. I think there definitely is a little bit of concern there with the ETN usage. It seems like James Robinson is very much going to be the center point of their backfield. So we'll have to see what happens in this game and what ETN's usage is going forward. But that's definitely a red flag. That's definitely a concern.
Matt, you got NWO winning this one, and I'm assuming there's got to be a bounce back player on this team. Who would it be?
Well, I mean, he's got really good players. I mean, I think Lamar Jackson has, 35, 40-point upside, which we didn't really see in the first week, and I think we could potentially see next week. I think Juju is still a guy who can pop off. I think, this is going to be a very, very pass-heavy game, lots of points against the Chargers. So I think Schuster is going to be heavily involved. And then also I think, Denver is going to be thirsty to win after, their debacle last night. And Houston's right for the picking after they, I don't want to say upset the Colts because they didn't win, but they basically upset them. So I think they're kind of due for a letdown there. And I think the same holds true for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, he's got every piece of that rushing offense against Seattle, and who's to say they don't each run for 2 touchdowns this week?
Who's to say, Matt? Who's to say? But last week, these were your picks. Minnesota over Green Bay. Matt, you picked Pittsburgh under 19.5, and I picked Carolina giving 2.5 to Cleveland. 2 of us were wrong. Mike, you're the only right one.
Mm-hmm. I was also very right, by the way. Given
yeah,
the score of
I mean,
that
I think
game.
my 2 losses were obviously pretty close. The Burrow threw 3 picks in the first quarter, and the Steelers only got to 20 points in regulation, so obviously didn't miss that bet by much. And I think I was kind of right on with the idea behind that, but breaks didn't go my way. And then I had the Jacksonville money line pick, and they were in front in that game quite a bit. Easily could have won, but didn't pull it out in the end. So really, I think pretty easily could have been 3-0 last week if I just got the bounces.
Well, let's talk about this week's dog picks. You ready? First one, Zoe knows pick of the week. Zoe's 1 and 2. Is 1 and 2 correct? Yeah, 1 and 2.
Yep, 1 and 2.
You had one,
yeah.
one correct.
Yeah, I got
the
Speaking of very right, I got Dallas team total under 24.5. Very right. But yeah, this week we like the Patriots. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're picking New England 1.5 at Pittsburgh, Detroit 2.5 versus Washington, and money line Carolina over the Giants. Which one of these 3 do you like best?
Well, I have them ordered in the order that I like them. New England, I think, again, Belichick, you don't see lose 2 games in a row too often. I think he's a great game planner, great schemer, against a quarterback like Mitch Trubisky, who doesn't have the greatest pedigree. I think he's going to take advantage of his weaknesses and probably, create a lot of havoc for him. I think you could easily go Pittsburgh team total under again this week because of that. So I do think, with a 1.5 point spread, I think New England is pretty safe here. The other thing is TJ Watt is going to be out for a long time with a pec injury. Doesn't really apply to fantasy so much for the injury report, but in terms of picking winners, he's a huge impact on this game. So I see New England getting it done here, just 1.5.
Locking down the Patriots. What's Ryder going with? Ryder, also 1 and 2. The Ryder Die picks of the week. Here's your parlay. Tampa Bay giving 3 at New Orleans. Detroit giving 2.5 versus Washington. And Cincinnati giving 7 at Dallas. You're liking the favorites this week, Mike?
Yeah. I just don't think the Saints looked that good last week. I don't think Atlanta's a very good team, and they barely beat them. They won on a last-second field goal. I think even without Godwin this week, I think Tampa Bay beats them pretty easily. I agree with just about everything Matt said. I just think that, Washington kind of outperformed what they actually are last week. I think Carson Wentz does his balancing out act here. He had a 5-touchdown game last week, so probably like a 5-pick game this weekend against the Lions. And then Cincinnati just got embarrassed last week. They should have won that game multiple times. They just didn't. Dallas is coming in, or they are at home, but they're going to be at home with Cooper Rush. I do think the loss of T. Higgins is pretty big, but I think Tyler Boyd can perform admirably in his stead.
So which one's your lock? Which one are
I'm gonna
you,
lock
are
Tampa
you?
Bay. Tampa Bay -3 is gonna be my lock.
Okay, locking down Tampa Bay. By the way, I did the math on this, and if you bet $10, Matt, on your three parlays here with Zoe, you would win $79 on $10 with these
Yeah,
three.
I actually already
Um,
bet it.
Mike, Mike, if you bet these three, you would win $69 with $10. Yeah, nice.
Nice.
Snoop's pick of the week. Snoop Sleeper is actually 2-1 after last week. The only one that he lost was the one that he pitched into the Shad parlay. This week he's taking Arizona over Las Vegas, taking the money line there. He likes Tampa Bay, New Orleans over 44. Thinks it's going to be a high scoring game. Then he also likes Minnesota money line over Philadelphia on Monday night. And the lock here is Minnesota money line. Monday night over Philadelphia.
He's always
Snoop
just a little
thinks
bit
the
late.
Eagles.
Just a couple minutes late.
Snoop thinks the Eagles are frauds. He's taking Minnesota. And these three picks would win $125. So these are the three riskiest picks of our
Sean.
Shad pick'em picks of the week.
Which is your lock,
Going to
Sean?
the board. The lock was Minnesota over Philadelphia.
Wow. Okay.
Going to the board bets. Woo! We got a couple new ones on here. Matt, break them down for us. We got a few of these that we. Yep.
We'll start at the top. So
How's that changing?
Bengals making the playoffs. Obviously, they they didn't get it done against the Steelers yesterday or Sunday rather in overtime. So that's a big shot. It's a divisional game that they lose. The Ravens absolutely smoked the Jets. So they're right up there and in front. Not a good start for Mike on that front.
I'm not worried about it.
Mike,
Yeah,
you still feeling Go ahead.
Yeah, they still play the Ravens twice this year. Like they're gonna be fine. They're still gonna make the playoffs. Probably win their division. They're the best team in their division.
We'll see.
Mike, how you feeling about Derek Carr being a top 10 QB after week 1? Little concerned.
I'm not feeling great about this one. That was not a good performance. The Chargers defense is just okay. They were pressuring Carr all day. He seemed very reliant on his best friend Devontae Adams, who he almost drowned in a rafting accident with. But I just with these weapons in that division, I still have faith that he can get it done, but he needs to step it up because he did not.
The one I really wanted to be in on was Mooney over under wide receiver 34. I'm taking the under or outside of wide receiver 34. What was the bet? Under. So Matt, you had Mooney going to be better, right?
Worse.
So are you over or I'm confused?
I see him being over wide receiver 34, meaning like
okay. So we got to change.
He's going to be ranked outside of the top 34 receivers, in my opinion. I guess we push if he finishes 34, but 1 catch, 8 yards. I think that there's not much more to say. I mean, he's like wide receiver 60 or something like that right now. I don't know what it is, but
not good.
I mean, you can't take anything from that.
I mean,
game
whatever makes you feel better. You're not looking good on any of these bets. I mean,
okay, that's fine. I mean, like
it's
the Bears are in for better days.
I don't think
better days. They won. They beat San Fran. That might be the best game of the year for them.
No, I mean, that's like saying like the Patriots had a great day last year because they beat the Bills in Buffalo.
Didn't they? Wasn't that a big game?
In the wind game? Like you can't take anything from these games.
They ran the ball great.
Where Mother Nature like determines the outcome of the game.
again, whatever makes you feel better about this bet, I think you need to channel that.
There's still a lot.
You need to rest your head on the
it's
pillow
still
with whatever you
unresolved
feel good
for that
about.
one.
He might
Very
only
much
have
so.
1.8 points, but it's still unresolved. Gabe Davis, top 20. Rob has yes and Simpson no. It's looking like it could happen, right? Could.
I side with the yes on this. I like Gabe Davis a lot. I think he does finish in the top 20. I think this was a treading water spot. He had a touchdown. I think there's gonna be plenty of weeks where we see a lot of these, receivers that kind of went off in this first week. They're not going to get the same touchdown production. They're not going to get the same target usage. They're just going to kind of fall down. And I think Gabe is going to have plenty of games better than this. And he's, probably going to have not too many games below 10 points. So I think this is, trending towards Rob here.
And then I actually love this last bet. Gabe Davis versus Michael Thomas. Really, really interesting. I'm siding with Michael Thomas on it. What about you guys?
No.
I just think Thomas is...
I'm on Gabe Davis. Michael Thomas is not scoring.
He has a worse quarterback, worse offense. He's a worse injury history. I think it's Davis here.
Well, there you have it. Board bet update brought to you by the ShodCast.
I think what we need to do for the slide before, Klein, I think we just need to kind of put where everybody is. Like, just put like Cincinnati 0-1, Mooney currently wide receiver 68, and then all the little, like, basically where they're at and like where it's trending.
Sure, no problem. I'm just producing for free here.
Yes, you are.
Talking points. 2006-07 Buffalo Sabres. Matt, you have a lot to say about it.
It was just a cautionary tale. I mean, I think right now I'm, getting a lot of vibes of a lot of Buffalo Bills cockiness. And I remember back to the 2006-2007 Buffalo Sabres, just coming off of a very deep playoff run where they should have won the Cup in 05-06. And, unfortunately had some injuries to the defense, which cost them their chance to win. And then the following year, they come out and they're everybody's favorite. They're darlings. And, they storm out to, I think they won like their first 8 games. They had like a couple of big comeback games where they scored 7 or 8 goals. And they looked like they were just going to just pound the NHL into oblivion and there's nobody who's going to stop them. And they had a great season. They won the President's Trophy. And then, Eastern Conference Finals, they got very, very overmatched by the Ottawa Senators. And frankly, I think they probably, if they had gotten through that series, would have lost the Anaheim Ducks. So it's a long season. I just would encourage Bills fans to be cautiously optimistic. They're obviously the best team in the NFL right now. I don't think anybody argues with that, but it's a long season. Save your cockiness for after the Bills win the Super Bowl. And, otherwise you don't have the egg on your face at, divisional round when you go down to the Chiefs again.
No eggnog on your face. Mike, you got a lot of overreactions for week one. Where do you want to start with it?
I just want to react to what Matt said real quick here. I mean, I guess I kind of see some similarities, but at the same time, like that like core of that team would have been great for years years on. I don't see Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs leaving in free agency after this season. So to me, like this core is going to be together.
It's more of an issue with this season and just kind of the attitude. Like I was at Allison's cousin's house the other day and they're like rooting against Cincinnati to lose that game, and the one guy's like, we don't need Cincinnati to miss this kick. We got the number 1 spot locked up. And I was like, oh, you do? I was like, it's week 1 and like already the Bills are the 1 seed. I'm seeing a lot of this happen. I think excitement is good. Excitement is very good. It's good to be like excited and feeling good about the season, but like this, like don't put the Super Bowl ring on just yet. Like there's a lot left to play for sure.
All right.
Okay, but like you understand where this is like.
Yeah.
Bills fans. have
Well,
been
you
waiting for
haven't.
this for
You've
over
been a
30
Giants fan
years.
most
So
of your life.
That's one part. Two, like idiot fans exist in every fan base. So I guess like I I don't
understand what Matt's
understand why
saying,
some dumbass that you're
again,
talking to that's saying they have the 1 seed already locked up like is
again,
making you
the
want to talk
excitement is
about it on the
great. I think it's
ShodCast.
good to be excited. The Bills are very, very good. They're the best team in the league as it stands right now, but it's a long season. That's all I'm saying.
It sounds like you're
I'm
almost
I'm
rooting
just
the Bills
saying
don't
be
do well this year.
cautious because we've seen this happen before. We've seen this happen before. Who would not have picked the Sabres to win the cup after the first 8 games of that season? Everybody was picking them. Everybody. And
I'm trying to think of
again,
a more relevant tie. Like, was there a football team recently that was Super Bowl darlings after week 1 and didn't make
why
it?
are you searching for a
Like,
better analog? It's Buffalo sports. It's a dominant team. They started strong. That's a good analog. Let's go to week 1 overreactions.
It's
all right,
not a good analog,
moving
but
on.
It's a great analog.
We'll
If
move
you
on.
think
We'll
you
move
think
on to the next
otherwise,
talking point.
your brain has shrunk. Keep going to
Huh?
overreactions. Let's go.
That hat is squishing your brain.
It's just big enough to fit my head properly.
Mike, overreactions. This is an overreaction, number 1.
Yeah, I guess one overreaction would be the guy that Matt was talking to a couple days ago, that already has the 1 seed locked up. But I guess just in what I'm more referring to is just fantasy football in general. Like, spoiler alert, I went 0-2 in my 2 leagues this week. I mean, I am overreacting, but I shouldn't, because week 1, especially with the shorter preseason, teams are just not playing their guys, and so this is like the first time a lot of these guys have played on a field together. We spent this entire preseason getting ready and doing research and everything. Like, I don't want everyone to abandon everything they believed and researched and did everything. Like, things are gonna like level out, and the guys you thought were gonna be good will be good at some point in time. I mean, obviously, it's not gonna be the case for everyone, but like these guys that kind of had these great week 1s, like Devin Duvernay, is probably not going to be like a top 10 receiver rest of season. So I encourage everyone not to go wild on the waiver wire tonight. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, and the start sits too. The start sits too. I mean, like, just because your star player didn't do well in week 1 doesn't mean he's going to be a problem the whole year. It's you have to be patient. Mike's absolutely right. The overreactions apply in particular to fantasy players. The guys who put up big weeks in week 1 aren't going to do it every week, and vice versa.
So I see a theme here among our talking points, and it's overreactions. Is it too early to make a trade, Matt?
I guess these kind of actually segued nicely into one another. Because I mean, you can definitely make trades and have it be as a result of an overreaction. I mean, I saw Lacombe throw in there that like CeeDee Lamb is out. Who else he threw? Somebody else said
Pitts.
Kyle Pitt. Yeah, Pitt's done. Pitts is done. So yeah, this is interesting because obviously you can get yourself into some trouble by, kind of devaluing a lot of the players that you're frustrated with, and maybe you really liked them a lot before the season started, and then they have a bad week 1, and all of a sudden, you're 0-1, and you're getting into desperation mode, and it is too early for that. So while I think that it is too early to give up on your players that you felt strongly about, I don't think it's too early to capitalize on people who are doing that. So, if you can find a weakness in somebody who's willing to chip off Kyle Pitts for somebody bad, then I think you do it.
Find Trek out there. Call Trek. If he hangs up, call again.
Who's that Pokemon?
Wrapping up the show. We have a Pokemon for you next week. I guarantee you it's not Ray Rice. Here are your hints, though. 2009. This running back only scored 167 points, but he was still a starter in the show championship. He also, or not in the championship, in the show at the time. He also led his team in rushing during the Super Bowl. That's a big hint. And the team he was on, Jars' league worst, McNair's shotgun offense. Hard to imagine a day when Jars was last in the league, but there was a time. And this player was on his team. Guesses? Super
Yeah,
Bowl
it's hard for me
winning-
when there's no.
No.
It's
Super
hard.
Bowl
There's
winning
no
running
team.
back.
I don't know what team he was on.
2009.
The big
2009.
hint.
Wait, so is this the 2008 year?
It would be the 2009.
Yeah, but does that mean that he had won a Super Bowl at any point in time or the previous year?
No. He won a Super Bowl that year. That same year that he only scored
Okay.
167 points.
Oh.
He also won the Super
So-
Bowl with his team.
So 2010,
I believe
he
so,
won
yes.
the Super Bowl. Like
Correct.
in January
Correct.
2010,
Let
he
me-
won the Super Bowl.
So was that the Saints maybe?
Or February, probably. No, I think it's the next year.
2010 Super Bowl was Saints Colts. So just
Yeah,
so-
keep in mind there.
Hmm.
Boys, week 2 is in the books.
Pierre Thomas.
Well, week 1's in the books. Pierre Thomas, a good guess. We'll find out next week. Any plans for the upcoming week? Thursday Night Football is going to be a good one. You got Chargers, Chiefs. Picks? Everyone going with the Chiefs on that? No?
Points.
This is gonna be a really good game. I don't. Oh, actually, just a Don Paul bad call for ESPN on Monday night. Bills game starts at like 7:15, and then like possibly the best game of week 2 starts at 8:30. Vikings Eagles. So,
Yeah.
I mean it kind of sucks that both games be going
And
on at once.
I don't think there's a Manning cast either for either of them.
Yeah. That's a total
I don't
miss.
think
That's
so
really
either.
bad scheduling. I agree. That's a Don Paul horrible call. I think the way they could have done that better, and I know this is not really all that feasible, but just put the West Coast game on the late game. Make the Eagles Vikings game your Sunday night game,
Mhm.
and then do Monday night. Have that be Cardinals and whoever. That way you can have
That'd
2 games. You watch the whole game. And
That'd be too easy. Too easy. Well, that's all we got for you tonight on the ShodCast.
Mm.
Tune in next week. We'll have another live episode.